And welcome into the Thursday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. Hope everybody's off to a great start to their day. What a great day today is. Joe Rexrode, how are we doing? What's going on?
Doing terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Why is that?
I woke up today and found out the Golden State Warriors lost to the freaking San Antonio Spurs on a freaking buzzer beater. They went from possibly getting the 3 seed. They're going to be in the freaking play-in now. I just said freaking 4 times. I mean, I'm so pissed off.
Well,
it's unbelievable. They were up by 12 going to the freaking Spurs.
No Wemby either.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely like
at home.
At home.
Wow.
It's disastrous. So I'm going to be in a bad mood today. Sorry.
Your well wishes to Rexrode.
Everybody. But we did just have this, I don't know, they just showed like this Cubs game and this couple like feeding each other a hot dog. And then they put it next to the Lady and the Tramp cartoon. That was pretty beautiful. That's the type of thing that can cheer you up a little bit.
Interesting display in public that those two had at the baseball game. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff there.
I've done some dumb things at Wrigley Field too.
Now there's Luka just crying all over the place last night in Dallas. Very emotional. Luka Doncic in the video last night on return to Dallas.
Yeah. Like if people weren't already, like upset enough or like on his side enough, that display of crying that he gave, just to make sure everyone. And then it's like the entire game, they're chanting "Fire Nico" at their GM.
That bottom lip was quivering, like he's about to lose it there at that chair.
I tell you what, man. But good for him, real men cry.
Yeah, he came in there last night and had 31 in the first half. Yep, pretty good.
45 overall.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and then apparently now, Anthony Davis, I don't know if it's true or not. I've seen the still photo. It looked like he may have flipped off LeBron as he walked onto the court. He definitely did not, like when they went out for the tip, he didn't even look at him. He walked right by him.
Well, they eventually got they did their little handshake. The LeBron's got 75 handshakes with all these different people.
Yeah.
They eventually did it before the tip, but yeah, it did take a while. I saw that.
Oh, did they do that before the tip?
They did.
Okay. Well, I missed
that. But it was it took a minute.
When they did the handshake,
it's almost like Anthony Davis, like, oh yeah, you're over here. Hey, how's it going?
Like during the handshake, did he sneak in the middle?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Pop the middle up there.
I have to go study the film, see what happens. Big day today in the world of sports. The Masters underway. Rexrode's going to break down each player in the field a little bit later in the show. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'd probably need a whole hour for that.
Yeah, Rexrode's thoughts on Victor Hovland coming up at about 7:08 today.
Yeah,
on the program.
First time I heard that name. Sounds good. And Santa in Portland, good point. He's like, I thought we were transitioning to farting being our word of choice. Yes, you're right. It is. It still is. Don't worry, Hubert. We will honor Hubert Davis when I don't know. That's just the word that came to mind right there. Freaking unbelievable, man.
Keyser, how are we doing? What's going on?
Morning, fellas. Yeah, I know Joe's queuing me up for my nicked off later.
Yes.
I'm not a very angry person, but I have a couple of ideas.
Okay.
So
that's
stay
good.
tuned.
7:45, nicked off on the program today.
Let's do it.
It is the penultimate day of Keyser on our program today.
That's right. Penultimate.
There's a big word for you.
Keyser's penultimate shift.
I didn't know that word before I came on the show, so now I've been able to use it every now and
then. There
you
go. That's what we're here for. This is an educational program.
That Hendersonville High School education.
I mean, nothing like that Hendersonville Commando education that you can get out there. So Louis Riddick from ESPN, who friend of the show and does a great job on ESPN, was espousing some hot takes yesterday, Joe, about Cam Ward that if you're a Titans fan, I think you're really going to like to hear, especially if it goes the way we think it's going to go in the draft. Here is what Louis Riddick had to say on what he believes Cam Ward could turn into in the NFL yesterday.
Look, I said my comp for Cam Ward because of the way he plays. He reminds me of Patrick. He reminds me of Mahomes with how he can be unconventional, throw the football from all different kinds of weird angles, and then just put a bunch of horsepower on it when he needs to. And look, to me, if someone was telling me, hey, that's maybe what you're getting, I'd be pretty damn excited. Now, I'm not saying I'm exactly right, but that's my bet that Cam Ward will have that kind of impact and play that kind of style of football in Tennessee if they happen to select him number one.
So that was Louis Riddick yesterday. Now, to me, Joe, the end of that sentence there are two very different things. playing that style of football is one thing. He also said has that kind of impact. So, okay, we'll see. That's a heck of a bar in terms of the impact for a quarterback to have. But if I'm a Titans fan, sure, man, I'll take Cam Ward having that type of impact.
Yeah. Yeah, like the style. We've talked about that before, right? Like there's some obvious style comparisons there, but and so that's fine. Yeah, having the impact. What do you mean by that? What having the impact, like winning a bunch of Super Bowls,
like getting yourself into the conversation for the greatest quarterbacks of all time?
That's the impact Patrick Mahomes had. What are we talking about here? What's the limit here on what the impact would be? Yeah, the style, sure. I mean, I don't think that's crazy. Different arm angles and big time ability to throw the football. But yes, the impact. I mean, my goodness, that's a big wide-ranging term for what it could mean. So if Louis Riddick got pinned down, which someone should have pinned him down right after that and said, okay, so are you saying could be as good as Patrick Mahomes? Right. He'd probably be like, well, yeah. Maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But
I'm just going on
sure
what
there
he
was
said.
A lot of yeah. I'm sure there was a lot of reaction to that one. To me, like if you're ever gonna make a comparison to like an all-time great in anything, like you really need to have that disclaimer of I'm talking about, because this has happened to me on the show, right? Yeah. Where I'm like very clearly trying to be like, I'm talking style, okay, or I'm talking type of player, or there's some similarities in some ways, as opposed to this will be exactly that.
Remember when people thought you were comparing John Hines as a coach to Bill Belichick?
Yes, that was fun. There you go. There's a great example. Yeah, and I don't even remember I don't
remember what the context
was. My point there?
I don't remember. But all I remember is nobody cared what your point was after that, because it was all like Rexrode just said John Hines is Bill Belichick.
I guess maybe I was just like, well, Bill Belichick, without the greatest quarterback or one of the greatest quarterbacks, won no playoff game. I don't know. Was it something like that?
Probably so.
Yeah, but they're similar.
They are.
Yeah.
I just thought, Louis Riddick there is talking about, I'm not saying I'm right. Not saying I'm right. But then the very next breath is, not only the style of play, but the impact that he believes he can have. So, look, we've gotten some text over the last couple of weeks here from Titans fans of, from some accusing us of setting a narrative here of why are you guys buying into this narrative that Cam Ward's not very good? Go look at guys like Kurt Warner, who have been highly vocal on Cam Ward and the player they think he can be. Now, Louis Riddick. All these people on TV are saying that Cam Ward could be really, really good. Now you got Louis Riddick comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. What's wrong with you guys on Robby and Rexrode that you can't get this figured out? I'm just saying I could go by my thoughts on the guy, but certainly if you want to if you're a Titans fan out there and you want to find some people that love Cam Ward, you can find them. Sure. They're out there.
Yeah, no doubt. So Riddick would fall in that category. Who are the big pro Cam people out there?
Sims loves Cam Ward.
Sims is big.
He loves Cam Ward. I think Kurt Warner's been pretty vocal on the Cam Ward front.
I've missed him.
Yeah, there are guys out there that love Cam Ward.
Kuiper I think Kuiper has him top 5.
Kuiper's got him ranked, I believe, 5th overall. Now, I think he's had Sanders at 4 the whole time too.
Well,
so
Mel and I are on the same page.
You are.
But I would put both of them lower than that overall. But yeah, there's that. And again, when we talk about, in all seriousness, like the narrative or whatever, we've continued to go with like consensus rankings. I know, like the Athletic, he's 12, 13. Cam is, right? So that seems to be overall. I would say if you took everyone who does anything with the draft and put it all into one big box and try to do a consensus thing, I think he would be outside the top 10 as a prospect, which again, that's just a difference between some of these years with some of these top quarterbacks.
But again,
doesn't mean he can't be great. Doesn't mean he won't be great. Doesn't mean he won't be Patrick freaking Mahomes part 2.
I was going to say, I bet when you did the consensus rankings that Mahomes was probably outside the top 10 too.
Oh, no question.
He went 10th, didn't he?
Yeah. No question. Yeah. No, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, luckily, I don't think would have been any reason that I would have written anything. But if I did back then, I would have been like, yeah, this Texas Tech, I wouldn't touch that. Texas Tech, that offense.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Yeah, great. He has a big arm, but what does that mean? No, I mean, that whole draft was all about, really, it was like Watson and Trubisky was really all the discussion, you know? And I mean, we know how one of them turned out from the basically start. Now, one of them, how that's changed, and Mahomes will be the greatest quarterback of all time. So, yeah, man, it like there are seriously stylistic and trait comparisons to make between those two. But I think Riddick probably should have clarified, unless Riddick actually unless he when he says impact, that's what he's saying.
Well, that's what he
said.
I
want it to. Okay, say it. Say it explicitly, word for word, then, that what you're saying.
Louis Riddick threw it out there yesterday on ESPN that he thinks, certainly in terms of style, and he said impact, that Cam Ward could be Patrick Mahomes. Take your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up later this hour at 6:45. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the NFL draft, all things NFL with him as well. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Skyler on the text line, Joe, says, so this week we've narrowed down that Cam Ward needs to be somewhere between Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. Boy, do we need the draft to hurry up and come so we can move on. Amen.
Yeah. No, we need it. We need it bad. I got a text here, and I've seen this a few times. I don't think I've ever addressed it. I don't know. Maybe you guys have. You and PK. The Ward compared to Steve McNair. I don't really see that at all.
Well, we've gotten several questions about that. I don't know that I necessarily see it all that much. Like,
Ward's not going to be a running cube. Like, he doesn't really. He can move okay, but
no,
like, McNair could rip off a 60-yard touchdown run in the NFL,
right, and
outrun like safeties taking bad angles. Like, like there's. Plus, McNair was like big, strong.
McNair's a tank.
Yeah. I don't really see it at all. Actually, I mean, look, the Mahomes thing is like, again, stylistically. If you're talking about, again, especially just the weird off-platform, different arm angle, holy cow, look at that throw thing. I mean, that's where I see it for sure. But again, Patrick Mahomes consistently great, always doing the right things, having a game on a string, being the greatest quarterback we've seen. That's where I'm like, nah, I'm not quite there with Cam Ward. But stylistically, yes. A little bit. Stylistically with Steve McNair, I really don't see it at all.
No, I mean, are there some similarities? Sure. Like McNair had a big arm. Like he had a huge arm. I think naturally when you're a quarterback that's drafted in the first round, particularly high in the first round, you would hope that there's some similarities to some of these other guys in the past that have been drafted that high. But again, like go back and watch Cam Ward in college. I don't think he's going to be ripping off 65-yard scrambles on the ground in the NFL.
No, he's not. Yeah, he's not an especially strong runner. Not all that fast.
He can get himself out of trouble on occasion, but like he's not a statue back there. But he's not McNair in terms of running the ball.
Right. Actually, so another guy, you talk about him in the pocket. If you watch him, Cam Ward, the thing that he also or the guy he reminds me of, actually, and it's in like kind of a weird way, but it's like you really don't see quarterbacks do this much. If you think about Joe Milton at times at Tennessee, Joe Milton would just like stand. He was just like stand in the pocket and then be like, and throw. Cam Ward does that too. Like he's good at getting out of trouble at times, but also he'll just kind of like stand or drift forever. And and then sometimes a play will develop and sometimes they'll get into trouble. But it's like it's stuff that like you watch it, you're like, there's no way you can do that in the NFL. You know what I mean?
I really hope Koharski's listening to you bring up Joe Milton right now.
Of course he is. It's like Joe Milton.
Hey, I will. The last time Joe Milton played,
looked good.
If that was the only time anybody saw Joe Milton play football, they'd be like, oh, so that's a good starter in the NFL, right?
I mean, he's part of the reason the Titans are sitting where they are.
That's right.
Number one.
Yeah, that's right. Joe Milton bringing Cam Ward to Tennessee.
Terrell on the text line says, all this talk about Ward is like Mahomes. All this talk about Ward is like Mahomes is like when they said Tracy McGrady's the next Jordan or someone's the next Kobe. They both had Phil Jackson. We need Callahan to be the next Andy Reid for all this to work. This is from Terrell on the text line.
That's probably a good point there, isn't it? Yeah. That's a big part of it too. And look, that is a big part of. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. It's hard for me to like imagine he wouldn't be great, like in just about any situation, but he does have a great situation. I mean, Andy Reid is a great situation. Andy Reid, I think strongly, has been a voice in their personnel too, right? Like not just as a coach. I think Andy Reid got himself to the point in Kansas City where, which is why it's also relevant to this place, because it's like Borgonzi comes over here from there. Obviously the personnel department's done well, but I also think it's largely Andy Reid's genius as a coach and as a evaluator that is why Patrick Mahomes is where he is. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot that goes into it. Like if Patrick Mahomes went to my beloved Detroit Lions, and for most of their existence, we probably wouldn't be talking about him.
Probably not. But sometimes it's luck of the draw there. And we'll see if the Titans are that part of the luck of the draw. Chris is saying that we sound like Stillbilly with his love for Darnold when we're talking about Ward being the best quarterback of all time. I'll just point out, we did not say this stuff.
Damn, Chris.
Louis Riddick did. So Louis Riddick is the one making the comparison to Patrick Mahomes, not us. Just throwing it out there.
I want the clarification. Again, the impact. The impact of Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, like that could mean many things, but when you say that, I need to know what are we talking
exactly
about
are you talking about?
Like the impact, like does he also have an annoying ass little brother who goes on TikTok? Like that's impact on the world. I don't know. But if you're talking about impact as a quarterback, that's a heck of an impact.
It is.
You're talking about here.
One texter says Malik Willis was a better comparison to McNair coming out of college than Cam Ward is. I could probably buy that. I mean,
okay, Willis. Okay, that's because someone earlier talked about Malik Willis and Cam, which I don't see. Again, Malik Willis, the best thing he does is run, right? Like that, and he has a big arm. But I mean, but he is very much like if you're playing him like genius coach of
Matt
your team. So he put stuff in and leaned into what he does well. Yeah. But I would agree with that. Yeah, Malik Willis is closer to Steve McNair than Cam Ward is.
And by the way, I don't think like Malik Willis is all that close to Steve McNair either, which kind of goes to show you sometimes people just make comparisons for the sake of making comparisons, and sometimes they're valid, sometimes they're not.
Yes. Sometimes
we always got to have a comparison.
They have big impact. Sometimes they don't.
Like I'm interested when this draft comes around, and you've got like Kuiper on ESPN. It's like my player comp for James Pierce would be, I don't know, TJ Watt. It's like, okay, sure.
Yeah, the player comps are always big, man.
It's good stuff. Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Kenny the mailman to the program. Kenny, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, good friends. Everybody's talking about the quarterback comparisons, this and that, but I would love to shine the flashlight on the coaching staff. Because last year, everyone knows their roster was limited, but I saw no improvements with anyone, nothing at all dynamic schemes to get someone open, to find something that'll work. They put a quarterback out that was not mentally ready to play. He has all kind of physical tools. He just didn't look like he knew what he was doing at all. And on top of that, did they not put a C on his jersey?
I believe they did.
And, players know. They know when someone doesn't deserve to be on the field, and to pick that guy to lead, and it's just – I think there should be more questions about the coaching staff than who they're going to pick. I want to see what y'all say about that.
Thank you,
have a great day.
Appreciate it. Now, just for clarification, the captains are voted on by the players. So,
yeah, I'm going to partially disagree with Kenny there because of that, what you just said. And I think this is a classic example of, I mean, look, we all saw Levis play, but I think that you talk about players know who deserves. Yeah, around the building, Levis did in the film room, what Levis did every day in the meeting rooms, what Levis did on the practice field, that he did deserve it. That's the problem, is that then you don't take it to the game. Then it doesn't come together for you. Now, again, I agree that then you look at coaching there too. So how was there a disconnect? Like, why were you so confident in him? Because remember, Callahan was vocally, outwardly, beyond just coach speak, confident that Levis was going to have a good year.
Yes,
and earned it and was ready. And then the games happened. So I think it's fair. Definitely look at the coaches, but I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding there with like what Levis did to get himself on the field. It was all looking good until the game started. And then some players are like the opposite. You want the player who sucks in practice, and it just says a gamer, and you don't want the opposite. You don't want what Levis was last year.
Which is part of why, I think in the first 2 weeks last year, when you had the miracle flip and the rolling the ball around on the ground, that the most stunned person in the entire building in both occasions was Brian
Yeah.
Callahan. He's like, what is going on out here?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So, but again, I agree with Kenny that, like, yeah, the coach is big time question there, and I think there's a lot of the overall product last year that makes you wonder about that question for sure. But I do think, that's what the Levis thing is so much like, okay, so was this a case of poor development? You can see some stuff from Callahan at the owners meetings. He had an interesting conversation with Kevin Clark of I always want to say Clark's Ringer, but now he's ESPN, on quarterback development and some of the stuff they did with Levis. It all makes sense. It all sounds good. It's smart. Like, and I do think that they probably did the right things with Levis. But some people are going to want to just say, yep, you can't blame the coaches. The kid went out there and just stunk. And some people are going to want to say, well, Levis had no offensive line, no receivers, and the coaching wasn't good enough, and now he's going to be scapegoated. I think we're gonna have to find out.
Yeah, well,
as we move forward, on both things.
Callahan is really interesting to me heading into this year, from everything we've talked about this offseason, as it relates to when they draft Cam Ward here. The idea of moving on from Callahan after the first year would not be exciting to me if I'm a Titans fan, just from the standpoint of, like, do you really want to get your quarterback behind the 8-ball? We've talked about that. Also, though, Joe, like, based on what I saw last year, I have serious questions about Brian Callahan as to whether or not he can do this job. So it's a really, like, I'm really torn on what to think about him heading into this, because I also, like, as much as I don't want to put Cam Ward behind the 8-ball and just say, well, you're coming in your first year and then we're going to fire the coach and then we're bringing in somebody else and you're learning a whole new system. I don't want to do that. I also think that there's a chance, and we'll see, I think there's a chance that Brian Callahan may not be a good coach. And I don't want to keep that around forever either, just for the sake of keeping him around. It's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, you have the coach, CEO, overall improvement, and just like the overall product that you have to judge him on this year. It could be bad. The results could be bad, but if the quarterback aspect of it is promising, does that trump the other stuff?
It's a great question.
Probably does. But I don't know. I don't think anybody has any illusions that this is a very good team. They shouldn't. But I agree with Kenny. I mean, like, there wasn't a lot last year to point to that made you feel great about the coaching.
No, absolutely not. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Coming up next, it's time for Pred's Pick to Click. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025. If you guess the goal scorer, you'll win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do that coming up next. We'll also continue the conversation on Cam Ward, Brian Callahan, and the Titans. We've got the best and worst things in sports coming up at 6:45. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It is time for Pred's Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Pred's in action tonight, taking on Utah, the Utah Hockey Club on the road. Max Hers will have your pregame later tonight. Pete Weber on the call. And congratulations are in order to our own Joe Rexrode, who has officially won the competition in Pred's Pick to Click.
Thank you.
With the assistance of Paul Kuharski, who I believe PK has 4 of your 16 correct answers.
Did you get 4?
He got 4.
Wow, I thought you got 3, but yeah. All right, thanks, PK.
So you officially locked this up. Our last Pred's Pick to Click will be, I believe, on Monday. So that's our last one of the year, which means that no one can catch you in the competition. You're at 16. The listeners at 13. I'm at 8. Keezer's at 5. Everybody except Keezer on the board last game. So big game in the competition.
Yeah, 7-goal game, you know?
Yeah. The odds are pretty high. You can get 7 goals every night. With that in mind, let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Welcome in Wesley to the program. Wesley, good morning. Thank you for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
I'm going to go Ryan O'Reilly.
I'm with Ryan O'Reilly. Thank you, Wesley, for the call.
Yes, sir.
O'Reilly fresh off a high stick to the face last time out. Nose is a little bloody, so we'll see how that goes tonight. Give me Stamkos. He's playing well right now. He's on a little bit of a heater. I think he keeps it going. O'Reilly, Stamkos, off the board. Keezer, your pick to click.
Yeah, I'll go with Luke Evangelista.
Ooh, Luke Evangelista. Rexrode, your pick to click for the Nashville Predators tonight.
I mean, I could just go total deep cut because who cares? I won. But I think I'd like to get to the Titans' weekly output and get to 17.
Nice.
So give me Forsberg.
On with Philip Forsberg, the selection. O'Reilly, Stamkos, Evangelista, Forsberg's your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators as they take on the Utah Hockey Club. Going back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. A lot of different thoughts on the Cam Ward comparisons out there. Somebody says Teddy Bridgewater is the comparison for Cam Ward. So a lot of different comps for Cam Ward being thrown around on the text line right now. A lot of people that we've heard from don't necessarily love the McNair comparison. So that's not fair to Ward, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's not. It's not a good comparison. It's a bad comparison. Sorry. I understand that they both may be Tennessee Titans quarterbacks.
That would be where a comparison begins.
Yep, there is that. But yeah, I don't. And you know, someone saying like, why would you have to do the comparison? Well, we're always going to do the comparisons. I mean, we're always going to do this, right? And then you just have to be real careful with your wording. You know, like when you say the impact of Patrick Mahomes. You know?
Wow, I think they'll have the impact of Tom Brady.
Yeah,
that will be what happens.
Yeah. So again, what does that mean? You know, the impact of Tom Brady. How much did avocado tequila skyrocket in sales that one time? How much has Botox benefited from him? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's different ways.
Different cell phones.
Different ways he's. Yeah. How many more people got
stock of Verizon went up incredibly?
Yeah, how many more people got burner phones and they realized what he was trying to do with the Deflategate? I mean, there's just a lot of ways you could look at it, but we're always going to do comparisons of players. Like, we'll never be able to resist that. You may as well not argue against it. It's always going to happen.
I got one texter that says Brian Callahan seemed to be a good game planner throughout the week because he had a great first couple drives, and then most of the games didn't do very well at in-game adjustments, which makes me wonder if he's just a better offensive coordinator than he is a head coach. But I guess we'll see next season. I think it's at times fair. Like they had some, I think some good scripted stuff.
Yeah, that's some good scripted drives. For first drives, some not every time,
but some. But certainly, as we've discussed, really like the last 3 years with this team, for whatever reason, when it flips to the second half, they struggled. Like they struggled to put up points, really at all times, but especially in the second half. So that's not just a last year thing. Like that was the same thing the year before too, where Vrabel was the coach and they could not score points in the second half. It's the weirdest thing.
Right. It's like, is that a stamina thing with your players? I don't know. Obviously, we always talk about adjustments. Again, one of my favorite overrated things in the world is quote unquote halftime adjustments. They have time to get an orange slice and then come back out. You're making adjustments every series. You're making adjustments all game long. The extra couple minutes you have to talk at halftime does not completely alter your game plan. You know what I mean? But people, look, every announcer of every game talks about it, so it's going to be an overrated thing forever. But adjustments, agree, in-game adjustments. I can't argue that it wasn't good enough. It is interesting how it's been a thing through two totally different coaching staffs with this team. So I think bad players has something to do with it. That's the consistent part of those staffs. They both have bad players, but agree, like at some point, all of it needs to change. More points, more offense, some points in the second halves of games. That'd be great.
Well, I brought this
That's
up.
the kind of impact we're looking for, Cam Ward.
Have some of that. I brought this up with PK the other day, and I'd be interested to get your thoughts on it too, because I'm thinking back to Callahan's end of season press conference where he talked about basically, one thing he learned throughout the course of the year last year was he probably did not spend as much time with other parts of the team other than the offense that he wanted to, which sounds great. Like I get that when you're the offensive coordinator / play caller and you're in charge of the game plan for the offense, like you're spending a lot of time throughout the week with the quarterbacks, with the offense, all that stuff. So how do you go about, if you're him, trying to make sure that you're spending the time that's necessary with the rest of the team while not sacrificing what is supposed to be your strength, and that is dealing with the offensive side of the football? I'm really interested to see how he does that this year.
Yeah. I appreciate the honesty there for sure, and it makes sense. It also is like, so you spend an inordinate amount of your time with that offense.
Yeah,
that's the offense that you produce with not spending it up. You know what I mean? That's the problem. But again,
need more Nick Holtz.
Again, bad players.
Yeah,
it does tend to make a coach look bad, and good players tend to make a coach look good. Todd Golden of Florida during this tournament, obviously he's a champion now. There are a lot of times that sideline, he's like, "What the? Yes, Walter, what a shot! Yes." I mean, like to some extent, you're all passengers.
I got one text that says, "Why would we think the end result in year one with Ward would be better than year two with Levis? Very little has changed except the quarterback. If Ward is going to be the guy, well, the quarterback's pretty important. Like if Ward is
the end result would change if Ward is good.
Yeah, like if Ward is good, then."
That's
the quarterback play is going to be significantly improved than what we saw a year ago.
Right. That's the idea behind taking a guy 1 overall, which, by the way, the other guy was taken in the second round. But also, the one thing that has changed, and I don't know how much better it will be, but they have done a lot to address the offensive line.
They have.
We'll find out if what they've done was effective, but you can't sit here and say they've just run it back completely.
I mean, we'll see if they've got anybody that can catch the ball by the time the season comes around.
There's that. Yeah.
But yeah,
they got work to do.
There's some work to do.
Yeah.
But again, like how much, I don't know what the answer to this is. I don't know if there's an exact science to it, but how much better would the Titans have been last year if there was just decent quarterback play? I'm not even asking for like elite quarterback play, like decent quarterback play. Probably won a few more games. I mean, I can think of a couple off the top of my head you definitely would have won if there was just decent quarterback play. So can you get that from Ward in year one?
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
And there were some games where I think Levis was decent or better.
Yep.
The game at Houston, he was good. Pick 6, but he was good.
Yep.
He was actually, I thought, managing the game well in Chicago until he completely wasn't, I mean, how different is last year if they just win that game? I mean, who knows?
Could be significant. 615-737-1025, our phone number. The best and worst things in sports. Coming up next, we'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week, now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst.
You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself. Believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go. It is time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Rexrode, lead us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Okay, best, I'm going hockey, but I'm not going what you might think. I figure I'll leave that to you guys. There's an obvious best in hockey. No, I'm going to the Frozen Four, baby. The Western Michigan Broncos, alma mater of my dad, alma mater of my sister, playing in the Frozen Four today against Denver. Got a chance, 2 wins away from a national championship. First Frozen Four in school history. They had one NCAA tournament win in the entire history of the program before this incredible run. Go Broncos. Nice. There's my best. My worst, I'm going to go back to San Antonio in the Final Four. Great job by Florida. Great job by Houston to beat Duke. Sorry, Vingan. Whew, boy, did those Dukies choke it away.
Tough one.
But my worst is just the way Houston lost that game. I mean, to not get a shot, to have those turnovers, and to end it with this, the ball bouncing helplessly and everybody just watching the clock melt away. It's just, oh, my goodness. You had Florida over here celebrating wildly. Then you see Emmanuel Sharp on the ground. I mean, just like a missed shot is fine. It's a missed shot. It happens, just get a shot off. Get a shot off at all. Like in your last 4 possessions, you turn it over. It's cruel. And look, Kelvin Sampson's a good enough coach to have a national championship to his name. He's actually done incredible things at Houston. And yeah, he'll have a good team next year, but that might be the last real shot for him to win this sucker, and what a brutal way for it to end.
Yeah, it was rough. There's no doubt about that. Keezer, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Yes. Alexander Ovechkin, how many beers could he chug after celebrating his new goals record?
I bet a few.
Yeah, quite a few. He was actually asking for them when he broke the record, so he didn't have him at that press conference, but he double-fisted them the first one. So, but no, Alexander Ovechkin making history was quite the moment to live watching that live. I wonder if he gets to 900. I'm sure he will. He's been asked about 1,000, so we'll see if he can get there. I don't know about 1,000, but we'll see. But my worst in sports this week, going back to NSC, it's been a couple of weeks since I mentioned anything about them, but this one's a doozy. Walker Zimmerman got knocked out by a bicycle kick on Saturday. Golly, got stretchered off.
Had to go to the hospital.
Neck brace, hospital, got released a few hours later. Just terrible. And he's been out a lot of the seasons previously. He's missed a lot of games. This is not a good look. But he's also getting to that age now where it's like he might think about leaving the game at some point. I don't know if this is going to help that case for him, but it's certainly not going to do well for him the rest of the year, especially leaving in a neck brace. But all the best to him, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, not a good look for Nashville's captain.
Got smoked on that play there, but I'm glad he's apparently okay. Yeah. So we'll see
brutal
what happens on that front. Best thing in sports, the Masters starting today.
Oh boy.
And I guess some people around here need to be shown that it is in fact a different type of golf tournament than like the John Deere Classic. Heard Stilly talking about this yesterday. I don't understand. Like it's a golf tournament. It's like, well, it is a major championship. It's like people would like to watch the major championships, and it's the course is pretty immaculate. So that's why it's a big deal. So that starts today. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to Rexrode's breakdown of each member of the field later too.
You brought up Stilly, by the way. Again,
I did.
I did not.
That's true. My worst thing in sports. We're like a month after the beginning of NFL free agency, and Rodgers still hadn't done anything. He's just sitting there. You got Aaron Rodgers just sitting out there, apparently, quote, engaged in talks with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, what are we doing? Like, what's he waiting on? Is he waiting to see who they draft? Like, are they? Well, I'm not coming if you guys draft like Shador. I don't want to have a drafted quarterback behind me. I don't know what he's doing. Like, I'm grasping at straws here to try to come up with why we're taking so long on this.
it has. I mean, the only thing I can come up with anymore is just he just cannot live if he's not close to the top of the headlines on the ESPN crawl. Like, I don't know. Or maybe he really is toying with like hanging it up. Okay, you've had how much time to figure this out? It's
interesting to me too that the
bizarre.
Steelers are just like, yeah, you just take your time, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess they have a choice at this point.
Maybe he wants to prove that he can even make them look incompetent. Probably like the model franchise in all of sports. Aaron Rodgers is taking on the challenge of I can even make these guys look like fools.
Yeah,
by just sitting here for weeks and weeks and waiting on.
It's very odd,
ridiculous.
I mean, I thought we'd have a resolution on this long since the time that's happened here. Remember when Florio was like, "Yeah, there could be a deal as soon as today," on like the first day of free agency. Like, well, still waiting on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's soon, but I can't. I mean, I would even take like an Aaron Rodgers McAfee appearance to like explain himself.
People thought he was going to do that last night.
I wouldn't watch it, but I'd watch you guys would tell me what
the
he
clips.
said.
Yeah,
watch the clips, exactly.
Cam says the best is the Preds have secured a guaranteed top 5 draft pick. Almost to the draft. Worst is the player comps and the expectations that are put on a prospect are ridiculous. No one knows for sure if a guy's going to be good or not. And also, the Atlanta Braves are not good. The worst in sports for Cam on the text line. Ed says the best thing in sports was Rexrode being able to ride the elevator down to the hotel lobby and get his coffee in between a break. No, big coming up clutch there. When you took the stairs, you ended up outside of the hotel. So
that's right. Yes. Yeah. It worked well this week for sure. Never took the stairs again.
615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Beast is out at the Athletic from our friend Dane Brugler. And some very interesting tidbits in there as it relates to Cam Ward. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, Ian Safar. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the latest NFL draft scuttlebutt and all things NFL with Charles coming up at 8. So looking forward to that. Speaking of the NFL draft, Joe, this is a great time of year from the standpoint of, number one, we're getting closer to the draft actually getting here and moving on from those things. And number two, each year around this time, you get the most comprehensive, detailed NFL draft breakdown that there is out there from the beast that Dane Brugler authors every year at The Athletic. And it's out again, the 2025 NFL Draft Guide, The Beast. We will have Dane Brugler on the show at some point here in the next few weeks leading up to the NFL Draft, hopefully. So we will be efforting that. But an extensive breakdown of Cam Ward, from anything from the strengths to his game, weaknesses, the background of kind of where he came from, what he's all about, his journey through college. Like it's an extensive, long thing here on Cam Ward, getting as much information as you can get if you're a fan interested in all of this. It goes through his time at Incarnate Word, Washington State, Miami. It's really good stuff from Dane Brugler here. So let's just start generally, Joe. When you kind of sifted through all this from Cam Ward that Dane Brugler put out at the Beast, what did you think? What was kind of your overarching takeaway of the work that Brugler put in here, and what that leads you to kind of draw from the conclusion here from Brugler and the piece?
Yeah. And remember with Brugler, this is what he does all year.
Yep.
Is he watches these people, but also this is him talking to a lot of people too, it's not just like his own film study. I mean, this is reporting and analysis kind of combined. Nothing it all matches with what I thought I saw too. I mean, a couple, I think, important points on both the strengths and weaknesses. There's a lot, but he does say Mahomes like scrambler, not fast, but he runs with savvy. So there's a Mahomes, a lot of Mahomes word invoked. Yeah. Again, like snappy release, creative athleticism, above average anticipation, arm velocity, reads the field, a lot of good things. But then, the weaknesses, of course, the first weakness is the guilty of playing hero ball at times. So that's the thing,
which I know freaks a lot of Titans fans out.
Yeah. The throwing slot, some coaches don't like that. The mechanics kind of all over the place that can create different angles from the nose of the football. The inconsistent footwork leading to extra hitches. The drifting backward unnecessarily, pulling them in different directions. Another thing to point out on the running, like we were talking about earlier, people talking about Steve McNair. Again, if you watch Cam Ward, I never thought he was fast. This, as Dane points out here, he can pull it on zone read sometimes, but he doesn't have the speed to consistently escape from NFL defenders on the edge. He's not, the Mahomes thing, I think the escapability makes sense, but I think Mahomes can definitely do a lot more as a runner than Cam Ward can. So as long as we can just keep, saying Cam Ward, Mahomes. But I think the big thing here is, because obviously Dane, then he kind of brings it all together, and a taller, slower version of Kyler Murray. That is a little different than
it's not Mahomes.
Louis Riddick talking about a taller, slower version of Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I don't know if that gets you excited or not, Titans fans, but it definitely made me raise my eyebrows.
I like the taller part.
Yeah.
It's like, good. It's got better size than Kyler Murray.
Here's, I guess, now if you heard all that, I mean, Kyler Murray's an incredible runner.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know what I mean? I don't totally get that, I guess. But I look forward to, to obviously that's not the part of Kyler Murray's game he's talking about. I mean, I think the thing about Kyler Murray is, and you definitely did see this with Cam Ward, he did he would just extend plays impossibly long.
Right.
He'd go left. He'd go right. He had that elusiveness, and Cam Ward does have that. He has a feel. He feels the rush, and it definitely, Titans fans, if you watch Will Levis and kind of saw that lack of feel at times, I think that's where you'll see. I think that's a promising thing with him. Is I do think he has that little bit of an eyes at the back of the head type thing, like that Bryce Young has.
Right.
And then he can extend plays left, right, and all of a sudden then make a throw, which Kyler Murray does. The difference is Kyler Murray will do that, and then all of a sudden he'll also just run for 40 yards, and this guy won't do that.
Yeah,
but he does say a slower version of him. So
he did say slower version of him. I mean, again, that part of it, if you're reading it, doesn't get you overly excited. Like, I guess the thing that on the strength stand front that I really like is the arm strength of being able to just quickly get rid of the ball. That's I think what's becoming a pretty common talking point with him is just how quickly he can get the ball out of his hand. Like that's an important thing to have at the NFL level. Just that flick of the wrist that everybody talks about, and your ability not only to get the ball out of your hand quickly, but to get the ball out of your hand quickly with some velocity to it, and either get yourself out of trouble by getting the ball out of bounds that way, or finding somebody down the field that maybe other quarterbacks can't find that way. So I like that. Everybody talks about Cam Ward and his vision, and that being really good too, his ability to just kind of see the field. So there's a lot about that part of it that I really like. Now, people have talked a lot the last couple of days texting us about like the leadership seems really good with him too. That's great. Like I'm not saying that's not important, because it is. I mean, I think Will Levis is probably a pretty good leader too. So it's not everything.
But then you can't be a leader if you're not good.
Right. Exactly. Like I'm not unconcerned with the leadership stuff. It's important. I'm more concerned with like physically, can he play the position? Like, is he good enough week in, week out to play the position at a high level? Because frankly, if you are, I think a lot of the leadership stuff kind of takes care of itself after that. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if he's good, he'll be a good leader. We talked earlier. The mailman called in. Will Levis gets to see on the chest. Hey, the leadership was good in the off season and all that stuff, and then it's just when you all of a sudden you're not even going to be able to keep your job on the field, then it doesn't really matter.
One thing that's also interesting when it on the weaknesses standpoint, Brugler says caught holding the ball too long on key money downs. See 2024 Georgia Tech tape.
Yeah. Then there was some bad snaps in that game.
His ability, his ability to get the ball out quick with his hand, like he can do it. But we've talked about this throughout the process. There were some times last year at Miami where there are some plays where he's just running around back there, and it's like, man, if you try to do that in the NFL, you're gonna get your head taken off. Right. Don't do that. So
that is the Kyler Murray,
right?
But Kyler Murray is so hard to catch.
He is. I mean, we talked about Ward being a little elusive. He's not necessarily fast. He can manipulate the pocket a little bit, but I don't know. I just know Titans fans, if they hear a taller, slower Kyler Murray, I don't know that the energy is going to be pouring out of them at that point. Yeah. Oh, good. Let's get a taller, slower Kyler Murray.
Yeah. Look, you watch Kyler Murray play. Sometimes he's phenomenal. I mean, he's good. He's a good quarterback.
I think I saw the best game of his career here at Nissan Stadium.
Yeah.
While Taylor Lewan was getting mercilessly booed by the home crowd.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Kyler Murray probably is probably a little bit underrated. They haven't won much, and you got the whole video game thing and all that stuff. I mean, it's a pretty good skill set. As a passer, it's a pretty good skill set. They haven't been very good. But yeah, is that what gets you excited about the number 1 overall pick? No, I mean, it's not. That's not necessarily what you want to hear.
Has anybody asked Cam Ward if he's like a big Call of Duty guy?
I don't know. Well, when he comes to town, maybe someone is going to have to ask that. DK in Mount Juliet says it's pretty clear that these nerds have no idea what Ward will be in the NFL. Well, that's true. It's clear. Look, the reality is we have people pretend they know all kinds of things about guys coming into the draft, and then they end up being so wrong so often. So nobody knows. These NFL people, none of us, the analysts, you can look at everything, and then you just cannot completely predict how so many variables will go.
615-737-1025, our phone number. The Beast at The Athletic is out with a detailed profile of Cam Ward. Gonna get more into that, take your reaction to what you've seen from the Beast. Some people are pretty deep into the Beast from what they've said on the text line so far. So we'll get into that as well.
Nice.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. This week's Nashville's best deal from 12 Stones Crossing Golf Club in Goodlettsville. They offer 18 championship holes spanning over 6,800 yards with the meandering Madison Creek as its centerpiece. Get half off a $50 gift card while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the Titans, all things NFL with him. 615-737-1025. Ron throwing another McNair comparison out there on the text line, saying when I look at Cam and my comparison when it comes to McNair, they can both throw the ball where their feet are not in a quarterback position to throw it. And their speed, I think number 9 was not a fast quarterback either. McNair was not Michael Vick out there blazing around, but he had pretty good speed once he got going.
Yeah, McNair was a lot fast, I think. Again, I don't know if you compared the 40 times. I don't know. Did Cam run it at any point?
I don't think I saw Cam Ward 40 times.
But, I think McNair was much faster than Cam Ward, much more of a threat to do damage as a runner. He also, as you said earlier, he's built like a tank.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think you're going to ever see Cam Ward rip off a 60-yard touchdown run in a game. Or some of the plays McNair made with his feet. I guess I hear the throw the ball where their feet are not, again, some of the creative throws and things like that.
But there are going to be some similarities when you're talking about quarterbacks that are drafted that high. There are going to be some similarities.
That is true.
Yeah.
They play quarterback. They're tall. They throw the ball. Well, they're not all tall.
Both right-handed. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I feel like the McNair thing is just like the Titans.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's not really not too comparable, but taller, slower Kyler Murray. Embrace it.
Taller, slower Kyler Murray. Yeah, look, I think the bottom line of the conversation this week just kind of goes to show you why we're having these type of conversations about Cam Ward, right? Because we've talked earlier this week about would you, if you're a Titans fan, take the best version, if his best version was what we just saw from Baker Mayfield this last year, would you take it? And Kuharski's Twitter poll had 90% of people say, yeah, I'd probably take that. And now people are comparing, Lewis Riddick yesterday was yeah, the impact of Patrick Mahomes. It's some of the variance in opinion here is kind of silly season around here. And then you end up, the Beast is another example of it. And it ends up pretty much where most people are with Cam Ward, which is he's ranked 13th in the class. That's where Brugler's got him. He's 13th in the class in the top 100, which again, everybody pretty much universally across the board's got him a first round grade. The idea when this draft process first started of Sanders and Ward being together, there are people that do not have a first round grade on Shedeur Sanders. You won't find those with Cam Ward. So there is, when you're talking about a first round prospect, it's not like he's devoid of talent. There's talent that's there.
Sure.
You're just trying to determine exactly what that looks like at the NFL level. And Brugler and the Beast comes down where most people have, with basically the exception of Mel Kiper, where he's 13th, which is fine if he ends up being a good starting quarterback for you, and he's a guy that can be a high level player for you for a decade. It doesn't really matter where he's ranked in the class because of the position that he plays. But that just kind of goes to show you the general consensus of how people view him. It's kind of right in the middle of that first round.
Right. But see, that is where, and we sort of talked about this yesterday in a Jared versus Joe win for me. Finally, Vingan got better at judging. That's where you look at having that first pick and you use that on a great football player and you get a veteran quarterback who can play. That's what I think they should have done. I think that they should have gotten a veteran quarterback. Or they should have prioritized that, and they should have used this pick to either take Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter if you believe that he's that good, or to try to move down. They're going to take Cam Ward, so he's going to we'll see. I agree if he ends up being that, then you'll take it for sure. It's still, though, when you pick a quarterback 1 overall, obviously you're shooting higher than that. You're shooting, it's just the pick itself could have given you such a valuable, cornerstone player, non-quarterback, and now it won't. And if you're wondering on the beast, like you said, he's got him he's got him 13th. He's got him as a first-round grade. He has Shedeur Sanders as a first/second-round grade and 34th.
Right.
So there's a 21-spot gap, according to Brugler, between those two. Then from Shedeur, you go another 15 spots down to Jackson Dart, and actually Tyler Shugg is only 1 spot behind him. So that's how he breaks it down. Again, I think Sanders will be the better quarterback in the NFL. But I don't know that Sanders is going to be. I wouldn't project him to be a great quarterback in the NFL, but I think he'll be a starter and have a decent stretch as a starter. And look, Cam Ward could be great. The things about him that are on the weaknesses list, the things about him that are concerns, I don't think they're nothing. I don't think that they're just, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
By the way, Brugler has Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri, 27th. He's got Igbuka 28th. He's got James Pierce, the edge rusher from Tennessee, at 36. So some of these guys that we've talked about potentially being around there at 35, it's going to be interesting to see where they fall here, because all those guys we talked about are kind of right around that area here. Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State, he's got at 45. Landon Jackson's at 47. Jalen Noel out of Iowa State's 42. Like there's going to be a lot of intriguing players right there at that line at 35 for the Titans to see how much they value that and how much they value trying to move back.
Yeah, no, 36 for 36 for Pierce. Like that has to be the off the field stuff, right?
Well, I'm sifting through it right now. He's got a 2nd-round grade on him, which is interesting.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm looking at weaknesses here, and there's like inconsistent pad level, things like that. I don't know, man. I understand, like, this year he didn't like set the world on fire and he get 20 sacks, but he was doubled every game. I mean, he was the focal point of offense's protection, as he should have been, right? As you knew he'd be. Man, I don't know. I think that could be one heck of a value pick for somebody. Maybe for the Tennessee Titans.
Let's head back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Tim to the program. Tim, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Morning, guys. I just think the rest of the league is sitting there lipping their chaps when they know that the Titans have got the first pick. If we go out and get Cam Ward, all we've done is the other 12 behind us for the first 13 picks are getting a better player because we take a reach.
Thanks for the call, Tim. I mean, there are certainly people that feel that way. They could be right. I mean, we've talked about it. He's ranked number 13th. Now, again, this is also a quarterback thing, because how often is the quarterback actually like the number 1 guy on the board when they go number 1 overall? It happens for sure. Like Trevor Lawrence, probably number 1 guy on the board.
I think Caleb Williams
Joe Burrow
was.
Yeah, like it certainly happens. But there's also plenty of examples where quarterbacks go number 1 overall that are not, in some cases, top 5 guys.
Yeah, the quarterback itself is an accelerator.
Right. Now, this is a little bit different because you're talking about pretty universally all of these quarterbacks are outside of the top 10, just in terms of the way that they're viewed. There are some exceptions, but most of the people, the draft analysts, have them outside of the top 10. So, hey, look, could this end up being a big reach? Yeah, of course it could. Again, I need to probably stop talking as if it's a certainty that this is happening. It just kind of feels that way, but
it's happening.
I mean, it certainly feels that way.
What was the pick at draft again? 2022?
That was 2022.
See, this makes me interested because I don't remember. Maybe you do. Like, where were those guys? Where were the quarterbacks ranked as overall prospects that year?
Well, they weren't high. I'm trying to remember. Pickett was the highest one. I want to say Pickett was the one that had a 1st-round grade on him. I'm trying to remember exactly what because I know the conversation, like the grades and the conversation are two different things. Because the day of the draft, they were running segments on ESPN like, could Malik Willis go number 2? That was the day of the draft. I specifically remember that.
I'm looking at this site, and I don't know all the sources, but it's an NFL mock draft database that tries to put it together. They actually, according to this, Malik Willis was 10 and at the highest quarterback, and then Pickett was 15. So, which is pretty wild.
Goes to show you the value of the big board.
And again, that goes to show you, like, if that was actually I'm trying to find Dane's. Okay, here we go. But I mean, like, that goes to show you right there. So Malik was considered that, and then he went where he went, right? Yeah. Sometimes these things just don't follow what the teams do or what the teams think. So now I'm looking at Dane's big board, and oh boy, we're going down. Yeah, we're going
way down.
Holy cow. So his big board had the so that's not this. You can take some comfort in it. Like, Pickett was the top quarterback at 32 on that big board. My goodness. So this is much more. Matt Corral was 44. Where the heck is Matt Corral, by the way?
Where is Matt Corral right now?
Am I missing Malik Willis?
Well, I mean, he didn't get drafted till 86 or whatever it was.
No, so I know. But I mean, but still, like you said, we were talking about Malik Willis certainly going high.
Matt Corral.
I'm sorry. Malik Willis was his highest QB. He was 28, though.
Okay.
So Malik Willis at 28, and then Pickett at 32. So that's, I mean, look, if you compare that to this is not that.
No.
Again, Cam Ward, I mean, the rest of the class doesn't matter anyway, right? It's just about Cam. But being 13th is better than being 28th or 32nd.
Apparently, Matt Corral, according to Wikipedia, so this could be dangerous, is a quarterback for the Birmingham Stallions of the UFL.
Okay, that tracks. Okay.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Rexrode's got a take coming up next, which we'll get to. And then I believe we've got Nicked Off coming up at 7:45 with Nick Keyser. Get excited.
Yeah.
Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight as the Nashville Sounds take on Memphis. Pregame at 6:20, first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Nicked off with Nick Keiser coming up at 7:45. Looking forward to that. Takes a lot to make Nick Keiser mad, so interested to see what this rant will be.
Had some time to build up this anger.
He really has.
Let it all out.
He's the true long
Let
fuse.
it flow through you.
Yeah. The true long fuse here on this program.
That's right.
Yeah. Joe, you've got a take on the quarterback front that you wanted to get to at 7:30. So I turn things over to you.
Well, I sort of mentioned it earlier, but I'll say it again. Yeah, it's too late now. The Titans are taking Cam Ward. So, although as someone pointed out, would it be amazing if they don't after all this?
It would be.
Then we will have a full discussion banked for, Cam Ward's career in Cleveland. I mean, we will have talked it all through. But it's just, I just think this was a bad job by the Titans. I do think that it may remind us of something that does exist and is real. Because really, like, when you have a QB like Cam Ward, again, he may be great, and the Titans may have data, interviews, film analysis that is totally separate from like the general, NFL media, which again isn't just media nerds watching film in their film rooms, but there's a difference sometimes between what teams, their proprietary information on players. They hold some stuff close to the vest, and sometimes they throw out misinformation. But Cam Ward is not an elite quarterback prospect. He just isn't. He's the best of this class. And I just, as we talked through all this stuff with Baker Mayfield yesterday, and what you're trying to get to and what you would be happy having, and we were all in agreement, you, me, and PK, on what would be satisfactory. It wouldn't be good enough to warrant the number one pick, but it would be, if it turns out that Cam Ward is a good quarterback, then you'll take that, and you have a chance. You have a chance to do what the goal of all of this is, which is to win a Super Bowl. But to me, if you are going for a non-elite quarterback prospect with the number one overall pick, then you should have signed one of those quarterbacks. You should have gone after one of those quarterbacks, and you should have addressed quarterback there, and then you should have used this pick to get an elite player that you know is elite. And there's only one reason that you don't. It's called the salary cap. Thank you. The salary cap is still a thing. It is real. It always has been real. And but that is, teams look at their windows, and obviously if you can have that window with your quarterback under price control on a rookie deal, even though, the number one overall pick, it's still a nice contract, but it's way lower than you're going to pay, way less of a cap hit than you're going to have. And so you can, in theory, do more with your roster because of that. That's the, like to me, if that's not a huge part of the discussion, then this really makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, you probably could have gotten one of these veteran quarterbacks for not a ton of money, right? So, I mean, that's the other part of this that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, even if your plan was to go get Cam Ward, like, I would have liked to have seen you address the veteran quarterback better than Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, which is what you've now done. Now, I understand maybe their plan the whole time has been Cam Ward's going to come in and play immediately, and none of these other guys, from Russell Wilson to Aaron Rodgers to whoever, we're going to come in and be okay with that. So maybe that's the reasoning. But I look at the situation they're in right now at quarterback, and I'm with you. Like, if you're going to draft Andrew Luck, then I think we all know, right? Like, you just run up to the podium, you turn your card in and say, Andrew Luck's our guy. There's not a whole lot of thought that goes into it throughout the entire draft process. I think based on the reporting around this, Joe, there clearly has been some thought from the Titans, right? Like, they have, Diana Rossini said it with us earlier this week. She's not the only one. Like, there was a pretty large feeling from some NFL insiders after the NFL Combine that the Titans were looking to trade out. And obviously it looks like their tune's changed since then. But like even if Cam Ward goes number 1 to the Titans, which it looks like he's going to go, this to me does not have the hallmark of well, he was our guy the whole time, in the same way that like the Burrows and the Lucks of the world
But
have.
I look forward to hearing
They're
it.
definitely going to say it, but it doesn't add up that way to me.
Yeah, and then it's the answer we'll never get fully, but there's no question coming out of the combine, and we talked about, what happens is you have people who talk to people and different organizations and reporters, and there's a lot of social mixing. There's a lot of drinking, frankly, and there's a lot of socializing, and you get
sometimes some fights almost.
Well, that's true. That is true too. You can get your head dunked in a vanilla latte, mixer. But there's there can be misinformation, but I don't think that was. I just think that there's been a shift. And the question that will never get answered fully is, was the shift because meeting Cam Ward, putting the film with his narration and all that stuff, and just liking his personality, or was it because there was a growing realization no one likes him enough, or any of these guys enough, to give us a ton to make it worth trading the one? It's probably some combination.
Yeah, I mean, what I would love, even if they end up being wrong, like I would love if I'm a Titans fan for it to be, we just studied this guy more, and we came to the conclusion at the end of it that we had to do it. Like we had to draft the guy. If it's the combination of, well, I guess he's a little bit better than we thought, and also nobody's trading the pick, so we'll just do it. That's not exciting to me if I'm a Titans fan,
right?
And I think that's how you end up in serious trouble.
And if it's even a decent percentage, that's why you go get a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
And you use the one on a great player, whoever you believe is the best football player in this draft, and you take another crack at it at some point. But it's too late for that now, I think. Until the shocking deal comes through, like on April 16th, 2025, just like it was April 16th of 2016. Yeah. Hypothetical question on the text line: what if he has a career like Geno Smith but gets you to 1 Super Bowl? Is that a success? Do you win the Super Bowl? That's my question back to you. Do you win the Super Bowl? A Geno Smith career with a Super Bowl win? Yes.
Yeah,
that is
for
a
sure.
Success. Absolutely.
For a franchise that has 0 Super Bowl wins, if you get one, sure.
That is still the point.
Absolutely.
Here. Like the whole point of all of this is winning a championship, right?
I don't care if he throws for negative yards a game. If that somehow leads to a Super Bowl championship, sure.
Yeah. Tall, slow Kyler Murray, Call of Duty addict, whatever. Win a Super Bowl? Sure.
Cam, what's your favorite video game? Are you a Call of Duty guy like Kyler Murray? Or
I think that needs to be a question.
615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. We got Nicked Off with Nick Keiser coming up next. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock. We will get into the Titans, all things NFL with him. So looking forward to that. Make sure you tune in to Chasing Big Joe later today. It's the 102.5 The Game and Green River Whiskey. We've teamed up to give away tickets to see Lainey Wilson at Bridgestone Arena in the all-inclusive Eurostone Club on Thursday, October the 2nd. You can tune in to Chasing Big Joe today during the 9 o'clock hour for the keyword to text in for your chance to win tickets. Green River Whiskey, sit back, relax, and bourbon. Green River Distilling Company, Owensboro, Kentucky. Alcohol volume varies by product. Please drink responsibly. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
You're probably beat up in the bus stop most of the time.
I think so, huh?
You know that? Will you let these other just go stand somewhere else, would you please?
No, I won't.
Torts, you guys give up the first goal. Just thoughts on your team's start here so far in the first 15-plus minutes.
We suck. We haven't forechecked. We haven't done anything as of right now.
What do you want to see differently?
Forecheck.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's only a game. Why do you have to be mad?
Gator don't play no shit. You feel me?
After situation room review, it's determined there is goaltender interference. Prior to the goal, no goal.
An extraordinarily interesting matchup from Nick Keyser yet again here on the program.
Going out with a bang.
Yes, it is time for Nicked Off, which I believe is maybe the second edition ever of Nicked Off with Nick Keyser here.
Maybe 3
on the program. It is Keyser's second to last show. We will serenade him appropriately tomorrow here on the program.
Can't wait.
Keyser, the floor is yours.
Yeah.
A nice Nick Keyser rant.
Look, Joe Dubin, last week I was filling in for Dr. Crane, and we had this topic in question of what could you talk about endlessly for 30 minutes. And that's where my inspiration comes from today, fellas, because one thing that I've always been fed up with in terms of NHL rules is they've got to fix goalie interference and they've got to fix infractions because it's absolutely atrocious. And we just saw it the other night at the end of the game. The Preds obviously came back and won. You know, that's obviously something that went well for them. But looking back at it, I mean, Jonathan Marchessault made the comment too of, hey, we need to go back. We need to be able to review plays like that because it's obviously a missed call and given, hey, the referee didn't see it. Cool, that's fine. But in my opinion, if you are unsure, if you huddle up and you talk about something that happened on the ice that resulted in a goal, you need to go back and check the play. I don't know how damn hard it is to go back and take a look at something that was behind the play. If you're unsure of something, okay, numbnuts, go back and look and figure it out. Because I as a former player of mine too, just thinking in their regard, they need to figure that out. I personally think they need to have time to take a look, figure it out, and move on from there. I really don't understand how hard it is, quite frankly. There's enough replay across the NFL. Look at all the changes they're making. NBA and college basketball. Hell, I'm sure golf has better reviews when those actually end up coming up. They don't happen often, right?
But a lot of reviews in golf.
Just saying, there's reviews across sports that are a little bit more extensive at times than hockey. I know Torts has been a big advocate about that. Some other coaches have been huge advocates about it. They don't like to say very much about it because they get fined. But I'm an advocate for please, let's make this a little bit more sharper. And I know goalie interference is part of it too, because that thing is very vague at times. So people don't even know about the infraction things as much, but I think they matter just as more because goals can happen as a result of that. So I don't get mad about much. That's something I sit on for a long time, but stuff has to change.
The officials in the NHL are under fire from Nick Keyser.
Absolutely.
I think you make great points. It's a very good rant. Did you drop yourself, by the way, when you said that word that people are absolutely going nuts about in the text line? They're going nuts for that word.
Numbnuts? Yeah, that's an old one.
Is that okay? Ian, is that okay? He doesn't know. Who knows? We'll find out. Remember, I was actually going to say that a couple weeks ago.
I know.
And I asked you, you're like, yeah.
Let's try to avoid
that. Hey, way to go out with a bang.
Well, the concern that I think is in the NHL, I think to a certain degree is in the NFL. What's the balance, Joe, of getting the call right and also bogging things down with reviews? I think that's the balance that these leagues are trying to strike here, because I'm with you. Like I would rather you just get the call right. I think that's basically where I come down on most of these things. Now, having said that, and I think it's probably more of a problem in football than it would be in hockey, but I also don't want you going to review something, 5 times in a span of 10 minutes. Like let's keep the pace of play going. Like one of the things that continues to be maybe the most remarkable thing the NFL does is you can count on it. Like when that game starts, it's 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and 15 minutes, unless something crazy happens or it goes to overtime. Like they have found a way to get this thing down basically to a science where that game window is what it is every week. And pretty much you're falling in the same line with the way that these games are played. As you know, college football, it is not that way. Like there's no telling when the college football game is going to be over based on the way things happen there. So I don't want to get bogged down in like just review after review after review after review in the NFL. I don't think it would be as big of a deal in hockey just because there aren't as many plays that would be reviewed in hockey as there is in football.
Right.
But I think that's the balance that these leagues are trying to strike. And it's an interesting one to try to sift through there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, college basketball right now is the worst. They're hopefully, we talked about it, they're hopefully going to fix that and make it a challenge thing. I think the NBA has fixed their thing by making a challenge system. And it's just you get one, and if you get it right, you get two. And other than that, you're going to live with human error, Yeah. And that's how it should be. But, also just the goalie interference in general I will never understand it. I will never be confident in a prediction. And that's pretty, like how many calls in sports can you say, we used to have in the NFL, actually, we used to have the thing like with the completing the process with the catch. What's a catch? We had that for a while. I think that's been kind of fixed now.
Yes.
But it was bad.
It was bad.
I mean, Calvin Johnson scored a winning touchdown in Chicago, and then he went and signed the ball, gave it to a fan, and they say he didn't complete the process. Like, it was insane, and the Bears got the win.
That Des Bryant one wasn't a catch. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's that one too, right? But like, what other calls are so subjective that you really honestly have no idea what they might call?
Specifically on goaltender interference, I've basically given up. Like when it goes to review, I'm just like, I guess we'll see. Yeah. I guess what they come out with this time, I don't know. I keep trying to guess, and it's just wrong half the time.
And just to go on this, I actually went and looked at the rule book about this. So, and like one thing I'm not a fan of, they need to make it clear as day because it's not clear as day. If you're in the crease, you're in the crease, and it should be goalie interference there. But then they take it a step further, and they're basically saying if you take the goalie out of position to make a save, so he could be on the edge of the crease, right outside of the crease, whatever it is, the inability to make a save, that's where they go back on. So they leave it a little bit vague there. And my humble thought is just, hey, let's make it clear here because it needs to be. So
I guess we'll see if there's some changes there.
You're getting a lot of love in the text line. A lot of love. Love in the text line.
Sweet.
Keys are going out with a bang. Adam in Portland says, Nick is awesome. Also, him saying dumb and beep, beep was super weird because he's so nice. Good luck in your future endeavors, Nick. You need to work on your anger. Use Chat GPT or something to help you get a bit angrier.
Wow.
He is a nice young man.
615. He is a very kind soul.
He is. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. We welcome Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports to the program on our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Charles, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, gents. How you doing this morning?
We're doing awesome. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, Charles, as we sit here today with the NFL draft now a couple of weeks away, how do you feel like the top 3, top 5 is kind of shaping into focus here as we're a couple of weeks out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of talked about this before, but it feels like it's pretty locked in, I think, in the top 3 now. I think obviously Ward comes off at 1 to the Titans. I think to me, the Browns, I think it's going to have to be Travis Hunter. They've devoted a lot of time at looking at Abdul Carter as well. All the heavy hitters were at a private workout with Carter. But, I think the Browns are staring at the reality that you have 2 positions where he could potentially be an elite player. And for a Browns team that, absolutely could use another corner, definitely needs wide out help, probably look at Hunter as being just, a player that to them, they're like, look, if we're going to screw this up, it's harder to screw it up with this guy because he can play 2 positions. And which, when you talk about ceilings and floors, he's this weird prospect who has like a super high ceiling, but because of the fact that he plays these 2 positions, he plays them really well, including, the wideout position where he's raw, but he still played it really well. His floor is really high too. So that has to be, I think, really, really attractive to the Browns. Plus, I think he'll sell. I think he's a draw. I think fans will want to come out and see him, which definitely is attractive to ownership. And then the third pick's interesting because if it ends up being Abdul Carter, you're the Giants and you have Kayvon Thibodeau, who I think they'll pick up his 5th-year option by May 1st, which is like $16 million in 2026. You have Brian Burns, right? So you're sitting there and you're saying, man, you have 2 edges as it is, and they're highly paid, and theoretically you want to extend Kayvon Thibodeau, although I think that's still up in the air. And maybe that creates some of the wiggle room for drafting Abdul Carter. But Abdul Carter is just it's intriguing when you just consider the assets that are already on that defensive line with those 2 ends, Dexter Lawrence. It's a lot to pump into the front end of that defense. And it makes me wonder if we all think the draft starts at 4 when you get past these 3 picks, but it makes me wonder if teams might call the Giants and say, hey, this Abdul Carter's clearly the number 1 guy on our board. What if we can get ourselves up to 3? And would the Giants potentially entertain, trading out of that spot because of the fact that they're pretty stocked up at the end position? I don't know if that's the case. My guess is, knowing some people in that organization, you take him because he's probably the number 1 prospect on your board. You just figure it out. You're like, okay, maybe use him the way Dallas used Micah Parsons, and we can kind of make him sort of a joker and move him around on defense. And then ultimately, if we move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, or potentially, we could trade him, opens up other options. Now we have our built-in replacement in Abdul Carter. So three is going to be interesting as we get closer, particularly after we get past that 2nd pick, if it ends up being Travis Hunter. And then, 4, I mean, the Patriots got to be, you're sitting there and you're going, we could have the 1st pick in the draft. We beat the Bills with a nothing. Joe Milton goes out there against the Bills. A lot of scrubs. It was like the Bills didn't want to win that game either. And that costs you the ability to take one of the 3 dynamic players, or at least, 2 dynamic players on defense defense, offense with Hunter. But now you're sitting there and you're going, okay, well, we have all these other players available to us at 4, and we have needs all over the place, but none of them fit. There's just issues with every single one, whether it's analytical, whether it's like sort of the prototype height, weight, arm length, all these different things. And now they have to think about at 4. So 4 is really, to me, it's where it's going to get really intriguing with the Patriots. And then obviously Shedeur Sanders is going to be the conversation at that point. Everybody's going to go, where does this kid end up? I spitballed it, a while back after I had talked about the Raiders having interest in Geno and that potentially opening up the Seahawks for Darnold. And then when that happened and Darnold signed with the Seahawks, I was like, okay, this is what I think could happen with the quarterbacks. And I put Shedeur with the Saints at 9. And I think my reasoning for that remains the same. It's not just quarterback need, but it really fits sort of his style. Playing in a dome, it negates him having to have like a really big arm, where I think if there's some places he goes, particularly weather, when you get into like December, January, he's going to need to have a bigger arm, and he doesn't need that with the Saints. He can go and have a prolific career playing in domes and playing in the NFC South, which is really great for quarterbacks that have maybe a cap on their arm strength. So Shedeur is going to be really interesting, but I also think that 3-4 slot, like what are the Giants going to do with Carter, and then what happens with the Patriots afterward, is the intrigue of the draft. And I think that's going to build all the way into it. I doubt we'll have any idea what the Patriots are going to end up doing it for until they're on the clock.
So I was complaining earlier on the show, Charles, as I love to do, about Aaron Rodgers. I know you like to do that too. But as we were talking before this segment, I guess maybe I should just shut up until the draft is over with him. Is it just as simple as he wants to make sure they don't draft somebody?
I think Rodgers and Cousins are both the same. I think it's at least this is, in my mind, this is what's going on. It was interesting because I made a mistake. I thought in my assessment of Rodgers, like what was going on, I was like, okay, well, you have a couple of teams in the Vikings and the Steelers. Like, is there compensatory? Like, is the compensatory pick situation playing out too? Because in my mind, I don't know why I thought this, but I thought Rodgers had nothing but void years left on his contract, and I forgot that the Jets cut him. And if you cut him, he doesn't factor into compensatory picks at all. And someone brought that to my attention. And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. They did cut him. He didn't just void out of his contract. And so once I realized that, you're like, why? Okay, so what's going on here now? Like this now, it makes no sense. Like is he teetering on the edge of retirement? I think a couple of things are happening. I think number one, I do think he's waiting out the Minnesota situation because they have not signed a backup. They have not added the big backup piece to J.J. McCarthy. And until they do that, that quarterback room is not complete. I do think the Vikings are trying to get past the draft for compensatory picks purposes. And I whether it's Carson Wentz or whoever they end up signing, I do think they're still leaning into signing a veteran backup with experience to put in the room with McCarthy. But I think Rodgers is waiting to see. And then beyond that, I also think he wants to see, and I know for a fact that this is what, Kirk Cousins would not waive his no trade clause prior to at least the first round of the draft, because he wants to see what teams are going to do with the quarterbacks. Because now it's becoming a little more apparent that whether it's Tyler Shuck or Jackson Dart or whoever, there are some teams that could potentially take a shot, aka the Steelers, on a quarterback later in the draft. And, maybe that changes the functionality of a veteran wanting to go in there. Same with the Browns. I assume, with the Browns likely to take Travis Hunter at 2, they're going to fiddle around with who's going to be available at the end of round 1. What would it take for us to get up there and get that player? Or who's going to be on the board when the first round's over. So I do think that factors. I think Rodgers plays next season. I do. I think he plays for the Steelers. I think he's waiting to see what the Steelers do. I also think in the back of his mind, he's waiting to see, are we sure the Vikings, because the offseason program has started. Are we sure the Vikings, and are the Vikings 100% sure that they're absolutely locked into J.J. McCarthy in 2025? So, yeah, I'd say at this point, I would be surprised if either Rodgers, there's no way Cousins gets traded before the first day of the draft. And Almost no way. And I also think that there's a really good chance that Rodgers doesn't sign anywhere until at least the first day of the draft is ultimately over. And he knows exactly what he's staring at with whatever team or the Steelers, what exactly he's staring at in terms of that roster.
What do you think the likelihood is of a Cousins trade once the draft gets going?
I think between Thursday, I feel like it's most likely to happen after the draft, but after Thursday's over and he and his agent, Mike McCartney, have an idea of like where are these quarterbacks with other teams, I think it's a much higher likelihood that it happens after Thursday. I don't know if it happens between Thursday and Friday because I do think wherever he goes, if he's going to waive his no trade clause and he's going to go somewhere, in his mind, it's not just going to be a 1-year stopgap thing. I think he would like to go somewhere and go, okay, well, this is where I'm going to be for the next couple of years. So, like, I don't want to just get traded and be like a 1-year guy. And I especially don't want to get traded and be a 1-year guy and looking over my shoulder at, is there this other quarterback that's going to get taken? So, like I still think the Browns are a possibility there for him. So let's say the first round closes and the Browns don't take a quarterback. They don't trade up for anybody. And let's say there aren't the second round quarterbacks. Let's say it's like a Jalen Milroe, he's going to be he's got invited to the draft. Great. That's awesome. Good for him. Every team I've talked to about him says great tools, probably a really long developmental process. I mean, at least a couple of years of really working with him to bring around the passing side of his game. So it's like, what would Cousins be comfortable with? And then could all the pieces really come together between Thursday and Friday? I know if you're the Falcons, you're sitting there and you're saying, yeah, we would really like to get a pick in this draft. So if we can engineer it, yeah, we'll really hit the ground hard as soon as day one of the draft's over and see if we can engineer a quick trade between Thursday and Friday so that we have a pick in this current draft. Because those mechanics, and I've talked to GMs and they've tried to engineer trades like during the draft and it's a total mess a lot of the time. I think it probably would happen after the draft, after everything's kind of settled down. And Cousins has that added knowledge of really fully knowing what a quarterback room is going to look like. He will know at that point what have the Browns added. But I'll also say this, you talk to some people inside the franchise, the Falcons franchise, and they're not convinced that blank wants to trade him. Like they're in their minds, they're like, Arthur really does not want to move this guy. And clearly Kirk's upset about that. And maybe the possibility presents itself, but it's not just an automatic that, hey, as soon as the draft's over, now Kirk knows here's the places I want to go. Let's get it done. And then blank, green lights it.
So, Charles, the Cowboys have done an outstanding job the last couple of years of waiting until like the very last moment possible to sign some of their big players, be that CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott, and it costing them a lot of money. So here we are with Micah Parsons, and he's sniping back and forth with Jerry Jones. Where do you ultimately think this is going to land? And could this be yet another situation where, what did CeeDee Lamb wait? Was he late in camp last year? Prescott was right before week one. Like, could this be another one of those situations for the Cowboys with Parsons?
I think it'll go. We'll run this all the way up to camp. I mean, historically, that's what's happened, and I don't think the Cowboys are off to a great start when, like, they got to stop doing this stuff where they try to talk to players, like when they're doing negotiations, because they have earned themselves a reputation, and it's been this way for a while. Where when you talk to agents, particularly of big time players, they will tell you they have a really like they're constantly battling Cowboys. Stop trying to negotiate directly with players. Like we're here for a reason. There's a lot of things to work out. There's structure. There's there's a lot of things that have to kind of fall into place, and there's going to be some back and forth. And instead, the Cowboys are always trying to get. I've had a multitude of agents tell me over the years that the Cowboys are always trying to talk one-on-one with a player, and they feel like it's the agents feel like it's the Cowboys trying to finesse it, or just hey, you'll be a Cowboy for life, and here's all just lean and try to play on a player's like heartstrings and get them to then turn around and push their agent to ultimately get a deal done. It was part of the reason why when the Ezekiel Elliott negotiations were going on, they took him out of the country, because you remember he like went down to, I think it was like Cabo, right? And their reps were like, we don't want him anywhere near Dallas. We don't want him anywhere near. We don't want him in the U.S. We don't want to have. We're going to take him away, and no one's going to know where we are. And we're keeping him away from Jerry and Stephen Jones. And so the Micah thing, this happens where Jerry's, trying to talk to Micah directly about, making him the highest paid non-quarterback or whatever. And obviously David Mulugeta, who's as big as you get with agents now in this industry, they're not having that. So that's not a great way to begin things. I think it comes together because they're clearly they're committed to making him the highest paid non-quarterback. That's the big thing you got to get out of the way. Now it's about structure. It's about cash flow. What do the guarantees look like in terms of like, are they rolling guarantee? Like it's a lot of different stuff. Those are the mechanics they got to get fixed, but not great when you got a player who's already kind of like trying to tell ownership, like hey, I have an agent for a reason. You got to go through the agent. This is all stuff's happening on social media. And yeah, it's messy. And then in the middle of it, they go and trade for Jalen Milroe, or I'm sorry, not Jalen Milroe, Joe Milton.
Joe's guy.
And which was, Joe loves Joe Milton, man. He's, I remember when Joe told me, I love you, Joe, but I'm going to have to, we're going to have to talk about this. Joe got me so hyped up on Joe Milton, after the what was it? The 2023 draft. Joe's like, I'm telling you, Joe Milton's got a chance to be the number one pick in the draft. He's like,
Are you sure I said that?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Because we were talking about Anthony Richardson, and you're like, I'm telling you, this guy, Joe Milton, could he could be Anthony Richardson next year. He's like, his arm and all this stuff. And Joe got me so hyped up, and I turned around, and what did I do? I went out and I started talking to personnel people. And I'm like,
they started laughing at you.
Yeah, dude. They're like, you're not an evaluator, dude. They're like, you need to relax. They're like, the guy, he couldn't. There's a reason why he couldn't pin down a starting job at Michigan. There's a reason why, despite the fact that he's got an unbelievable blend of, tools and he's just completely put together. But there was no way he was ever going to beat out Hendon Hooker before Hendon Hooker left. And, it was just funny when I kind of ran into this brick wall. Now, I didn't know he was going to go and
throw that ball through a brick wall.
You can. He's got that. But it was funny because it was a few weeks ago. It might have been, I don't know, maybe a month ago, when again, coming out of the Senior Bowl, I start to hear from inside the Patriots, like, yeah, we're going to make Milton available. And like, and then I start seeing in the media, people are like, well, they're going to see if they can get a third round pick for him. And I'm like, okay, let me see what his value is. So I ran around the league and I'm like I'm just like, hey, just give me an idea. And everybody's like, are you like, no, he's not worth a third. Yeah. They're like, he's not worth a third round pick. They're like, he played against the Bills. It was nothing but a bunch of backups, for the most part for the Bills. And he was out of structure like the entire game. Like they're just like the same issues that were there coming into the draft. That has not changed because he ran around against the Bills and showed off his arm. That's great, but you can't. That's not how you play. It was part of what killed Johnny Manziel. Aside from everything else that was there, Manziel was just running around out of structure, doing crazy stuff, and that was never going to translate in the NFL. So the same thing with Milton. So I ended up writing like, hey, I just don't see this. There's not this market there for a third round pick. Like it's just that nobody has really changed their opinion. And, I write it and put out, and, I got like Patriots fans are killing me. They're like, he's going to be a starter. He's the greatest, this and that. And then, of course, they have to strap a pick to him to ultimately get a fifth. Yeah, he's enticing. He's fun to watch, but there's a lot of, interesting stuff that I saw, I think, comes along with him in terms of just getting him into the structure of an offense and being able to, run a consistent NFL offense with him.
Good call, Joe.
A lot of slander, a lot of Joe slander today. A lot of multiple Joes taken. I mean, if you want to talk about some of the stuff you told me about Jamarcus Russell before that draft, we can get into that too if you want. I mean,
Hey, you know what? But at least I'm backed up by all the execs who still to this day will tell you who were there. Greatest pro day workout I've ever seen. Like John Elway was like, I've never seen a dude do that before at a pro day. And I'm like, this is John Elway. Like John Elway's like, that dude's got the biggest arm I've ever seen. Like just craziness. But one other thing, Joe, you got to stop. Like Patrick Mahomes is not yet the greatest quarterback of all time. Are you saying, are you like, I'm listening to you and I'm like, keep saying Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time?
He is a certified Brady hater.
No,
and will not
I am
admit
not.
that he is, but he's an enormous hater of Tom Brady.
I think Brady's great. What are you talking about? Brady's absolutely one of the best quarterbacks of all time. No, I don't know. I think he's probably like the GOAT in waiting, right? I would agree that he's not right now.
He's headed that way, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, that's
he's
fine.
Headed that way. I'll give you that, but he's not. I'm telling you,
I think he might be the greatest talent we've seen, right? But yeah, I mean, I agree. Achievement still has to match up with
I have the amount of appreciation for Tom Brady. For me, probably the last 5 years of his career is where it completely built. Like everything else he did, sure, that was all impressive, and obviously there's no doubt rings, everything. But I'm telling you, the last 5 years of his career are the ones I can't figure that out. I just can't, especially now that I'm seeing other quarterbacks just consistently break down as they get toward. Because I was like, oh, this is how it's going to be now. Like, quarterbacks will all play till they're 40. And they'll all be the great ones. Will all play till they're 40, and they'll all be great until they're 40. And then some of them will go from 41, 42, 43, and still be great. No, these guys are like I'm watching this stuff where it's like clear as day. Guys just are deteriorating as they should, and Tom Brady from 40 to 45 is just makes no sense to
and
me.
By the way, it looked like he absolutely was in that 2019 season. And then I don't know, he found some kind of fountain of youth. Fountain of Botox / HGH or whatever, but I'm with you.
Rexrode still got him behind Dan Fouts on the all-time ranking list, so that's good.
Very underrated. Someone on the text line,
baby.
By the way, someone on the text line saying that LaShawn McCoy said Dak needs to get a realtor now that Milton's in Dallas. Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
Oh my God.
Put the house up for sale, Dak. Joe's in town.
But this is what I love though is also. Like, so some of what happened in New England that is eventually maybe this story gets told, who knows? But when Robert Kraft comes out and Gerard Mayo's been fired as head coach, Robert Kraft kind of makes this sort of half joke, but not really a joke that they have like 2 starting quarterbacks, right? It looks like we have 2 starting quarterbacks. People inside the Patriots were just like, oh my God. Like they were like, what is he doing? Why would he, no. Every guys in the locker room, like everybody knew it's not even close. They're like, no, he's not a starting quarterback. And I think that creates some stuff inside the building because, you have guys who are like, okay, like, here's all the ways that we can recount that. No, he's not. And he's years away from ever being that. Maybe that comes someday, but it's definitely not there now. So, whatever that happens. And I'm thinking in my mind, Patriots fans, and heading toward 2025, I'm like, man, if Drake May struggles, like let's say, okay, year 2, just doesn't come out of the gate hot or whatever, like how long is it going to take before people are like, well, we got Milton. Well, Milton, look, he beat up the Bills and look at how great he's looked in the preseason. He destroyed the Jets and all this other stuff. And obviously whatever he does in the 2025 preseason, when he got traded to Dallas, I thought in my mind, the only place this is going to get worse is Dallas. Right. Because Dallas fans are if he goes out there and he does what he did in the preseason, if he does what he did against the Bills, if he gets out there and he's all, it's exciting to watch him play. It's also scary. But if he does that, Dallas fans, I'm not kidding, they're going to go crazy. Like they're going to drive Dak Prescott nuts with this. There could not have been a better landing spot if you just want to drum up drama and listen to a fan base who's like they're already turning on Dak anyway as it is. Like it's this roller coaster of like loving Dak and hating Dak. oof, now you add Milton to that. I'm calling it right now. We will talk about this next season at some point. Maybe it's the preseason, maybe it's the regular season. We're going to talk about how Dallas fans are all saying that Joe Milton needs to be the starter and they need to get rid of Dak. And it's going to be based on Joe Milton running around and showing off a huge arm and an ability to do exciting things out of structure.
Look at Vrabel having the foresight to get that distraction out of there in New England. It's the new day up there with the Patriots.
I'll tell you what about Vrabel. You when you talk to people in the building, they tell you, they're like, man, the BS stopped pretty quickly. He came in and it was like, okay, here's the guys we're getting out of the organization. Here's the ones we got to keep. We're going to get out as quickly as possible. Everybody's going to be on the same page. When I come to you and I ask you for an honest assessment, guys, you are on the line. If you don't give me an honest assessment, like, yeah, it's and some, some people definitely in that organization are like, it's refreshing because there was so much BS going on in 2024. That's all out the window now. And it's vital that they have a great draft in 2025. I think you could see some shuffling, whether it's with Elliott Wolf or whoever. If 2025 that draft looks as poor as 2024 did, there's going to be some blood in the streets for sure. But yeah, it's interesting just to hear people talk about Vrabel and the organization and how things have shifted gears pretty quickly.
Charles, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us today. And a couple weeks out from the draft, we're getting closer.
Yeah. Oh, where do we stand? Where do you guys? I mean, what's the Cam Ward? What's the story of the day with Cam Ward now?
It's just the daily acceptance that he's going to be the quarterbk here. Whatever, however. Well, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but that's what they're going to do.
What would you do? I'm curious. I want to hear your draft.
I would have I would take Shedeur Sanders over Joe Milton. So again, we've already discussed my excellent talent evaluation skills. But yeah, I would. But I would have signed someone, and I would be running to the podium to draft Travis Hunter. But someone else will get him.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay, interesting.
He's going to be a great player. And I will be right on that one.
We'll see.
You'll be right on
Travis Hunter will be great.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's all right. Well, congratulations on your 1
Thank you. Take the wins when you can get them.
Thank you, Charles. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest. Lots to get to there from Charles. We'll react to that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Got tickets to give away to see Pierce the Veil at Nashville Municipal Auditorium coming up on Wednesday, June the 4th. Be caller number 4. Caller 4, 615-737-1025. Caller 4 will win a pair of tickets to see Pierce the Veil at Nashville Municipal Auditorium coming up on Wednesday, June 4th.
Charles totally mischaracterized what I said, by the way.
I don't think so.
I said it on this show. And I said it to him, and I said this. I said, look, he has the skill set to be the number one pick. He also, this is a part Charles didn't relate to, also, if it doesn't get way better in some other areas, he could go undrafted. That is what I said. I wrote it. I wrote it in The Athletic. He is a number one pick to undrafted range player.
What I heard from that last segment was the NFL scouting community at large does not hold your opinion very highly anymore. Charles totally ruined it with you and the executives and the scouts across the National Football League.
Yeah, whatever. He does make a good point about Dallas. Boy, what a
that could be a tire fire.
What a fan base, and he will. He'll go out in the preseason and he'll throw like a 60-yard rope for a touchdown.
I need him to light it up in the preseason,
and it'll be like this. Dak can't do that. You can't do that, Dak. Oh man, I hadn't even thought about like just the potential with Joe Milton in Dallas for that kind of stuff. It could get pretty entertaining.
Could get very entertaining. I mean, the Cowboys in general. So they waited as long as they could basically wait with CeeDee Lamb to negotiate with him and pay him the money. Same thing with Dak. Like they waited forever on that. Now they've done it with Micah Parsons. Like at some point, does somebody around there not look at Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and say, hey, you guys keep waiting until the last possible minute to pay these players. And the only thing that's going to end up doing is costing you more money at the end of the day. Like maybe a change in strategy at some point here for the Cowboys.
Well, especially it kind of, I guess it depends on the position and what else is going on. But like at receiver last year, there was no question. You get it done as early as you can.
Yeah.
Because it just, now there's a new big one. Now there's a new, biggest one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that necessarily is the case with Parsons. I'm trying to think, are there other?
Well, now that Garrett's done,
yeah.
People think that TJ Watt wants a new deal now that he's posting pics on Instagram of him with 2 fingers up walking out in a Pittsburgh uniform. So we'll see. But like they know they're going to have to pay Parsons more than $40 million a year now. Like that's where the bar is.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there are benefits to getting things done early, but that's not what they do. Interesting stuff too from Charles on the whole, trying to play those heartstrings, like cowboy for life. Yeah. You know what, Zeke? Get out of the country so that no one can talk to you at all. Okay, let's deal with it that way.
Also interesting on the draft front with Rodgers and Cousins as to what they could be waiting for here.
Yeah, I guess I get that. I get that with Rodgers. The Cousins thing is going to be really interesting. It's just like, I'm sorry, admitted Cousins homer, okay, but if you're him and you're like, oh, I don't want to just be a short-term bridge guy, like that's the best you're going to do at this point. Like, no, there's not a team in this league.
Achilles.
Yeah, there's not a team in this league that's going to look at you and be like, this is our next 5 years at quarterback. I mean, so if you get another chance Cleveland, I think, could be tremendous. A tremendous opportunity for him. He and Stefanski have a history. They have a good roster. I think like if Cleveland gets Travis Hunter, he's going to make a difference for them right away. Also, what if they went Abdul Carter? Whatever. Like that's a pretty good roster. And if they can get a receiver in this draft, that could be pretty freaking good. That could be pretty good. But how many other opportunities like that are there around the league?
The last 2 years we've seen Cousins were the torn Achilles, the last year in Minnesota. And then last year, he like disintegrated as a player. Now, was he maybe more hurt? Like they've tried to play it off since then that he was more hurt than
like the shoulder apparently was. But again, that stuff also is going to be more and more likely now.
Right, but like all that factored in, you're not getting more than like the opportunity to be a bridge guy.
But I like from the Cleveland perspective, I don't hate it. I
Yeah.
don't hate it. In terms of You know he's going to come in. You're going to get your upgrade. I mean, again, if he's healthy enough, you're upgraded.
Right.
He's going to be, he is a great leader on stuff. Again, there's limitations to what that means if you don't play at a high level, but I could see it actually being pretty good. You look at what Flacco did. There's somebody in the text line today who's just like hardcore thinks the Titans should sign Flacco, by the way, which I'm not quite there. But you look at what Flacco did a couple years ago with that team. I think Cousins could be better than him and is better than him at his default, and that could be pretty good. But if it's not them, I don't see much else out there that's really that promising.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. One more segment coming up next. More to react to from Charles Robinson. If you missed the interview with Charles, you can check it out. Robby and Rexrode, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, GameNashville.com. We'll have more on that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Win an exclusive Jason Aldean experience. You can text in the keyword Jason to 615-737-1025. Receive a link to sign up for a chance to win all-inclusive tickets to the Eurostone Club at Bridgestone Arena to see Jason Aldean, plus also a chance to win $1,000 in cash as well. Again, text in the keyword Jason to 615-737-1025. Joe Mark in Paris on the text line says, I'd be good with Flacco for a year. Trade down once or twice in the first, once in the second, fill a lot of positions. Get your guy next year. The Joe Flacco movement to Nashville is growing by the text on the text line right now.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I Flacco a couple years ago, great job. Tremendous coming off the couch, pinch hitting. Then, you want to go back and watch that playoff game again. And I understand, the balance of the season was pretty good from him, but that playoff game was like, oh, that's why he was sitting on the couch and available for anybody to sign as the season started.
He's also 40. So
yeah.
That too.
And like Charles said, we had this discussion before too. It's like, are we going to start just talking about all these guys into their 40s? But no, I don't think so. Brady's just got a special concoction of whatever helped him, be Robo QB well into his 40s. So
every time I see him now, his face just looks weirder and weirder. Like he just keeps getting younger.
Yeah, it's unsettling. You need to just embrace getting old. Just embrace it. It's fine.
He won't do it.
Yeah, and it gets a little bit like, I don't want to say like, obviously I think Michael Jackson had like a disease, but it's like every couple of years that you see him again, it's harder and harder to look at him.
Yeah.
It's getting that way with Brady, man. And like you show like the side-by-side pictures of like when he was like 25 versus now.
It's a lot different.
And it's like his jawline's different. Like, what are we doing here, man? Just age. We're all rotting corpses.
Well, luckily for you, you're going to get to see him on a weekly basis on the national broadcast in Fox when football season picks back up.
Yeah. Yay. I hope he has a good offseason of working on his craft because he's like the 6th announcing team level dude right now.
I'm sure he's putting in the film work right now. I'm sure there's a lot of effort going in. So I look forward to that. When he's not making football decisions for the Raiders.
Yeah. You don't need to like everything doesn't need to be, like when we were on the team bus going to my 4th Super Bowl, it was just so great. Like we really would want analysis of the game more than that.
Have you seen a couple of interesting mic'd up things have happened this week? I saw a video of Vrabel addressing the team in New England, laying down the law for his new rules and expectations for the team out there. You got to be on time. And if you're not going to be on time, you got to communicate with people. You got to treat people with respect. And their goal is to win the division. There's a lot of things that Vrabel laid out there. Okay. In his little mic'd up thing that have got Patriots fans all fired up. Also, some videos coming out from North Carolina football spring practice, Joe, of Belichick mic'd up, and he's back in his natural habitat out there. He's coaching them up out there in North Carolina, and then making sure that his girlfriend's copied on all the emails that are sent out there, the correspondence.
I haven't seen any of the Belichick stuff. Boy, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, the Vrabel, interesting stuff from Charles on Vrabel, the whole, all the BS stops and all that stuff. Like, Vrabel's a good CEO. There is no question who's in charge. Then I think there's a lot of value in that.
You could tell from the meeting. He wants the phones put away in the bag. He wants to make sure that he understands that there's style involved with it. But in the meeting, make sure the hood's down. I mean, you don't need to see anybody's hood in the meeting because then you could be taking a nap, and you don't want that.
There you go. I'll have to go check this video out.
It's got Patriots fans all sorts of fired up. They're ready.
They think it's all, yeah.
Finally, an adult in charge.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Meanwhile, when Vrabel got fired here, it was like, oh, now we got a coach who lets people be them. Just be themselves.
We can breathe again around here.
Yeah. No, we can make adjustments now and correct things, unlike before when we never did. It's always the new guy's it's always the right answer, and it's usually very different from the last guy.
I need to get an update from Arden Key when OTAs come around again, because he started last year by like, hey, we're making some corrections around here, and we didn't do that before when Vrabel and this staff was here. And by the end of the year, they weren't making corrections anymore. on the defensive side of the ball. So
we
got to get back into Arden Key's headspace here and figure out exactly what's going on with the coaching staff.
Yeah, that is worth a follow-up with him, right? The answer may be, actually, we just sucked way more than I realized. We actually did try to correct things, but we're not good, so we couldn't.
Went back and studied some of the film, and it turns out you can't cover someone when you're 7 yards away from them. It's hard to make up that space in the NFL.
I'm just glad Arden is still here, and he and Paul Kaharsk can continue to cultivate their relationship.
Big day today, Joe. Masters is underway. Scotty Scheffler's teeing off here in about 20 minutes or so. Hope you enjoy yourself today watching this tournament, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, talk about amazing athletes. I mean, look at this Justin Thomas with these freaking green slacks. You know, just
he's a roll tider.
Amazing athletes here. No, it's fine. I'll watch an hour Sunday.
We'll see what happens. Big tournament. Looking forward to it. That does it for us today. Chasing Big Joe is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Have a great day, guys. Enjoy the sun.